Think that you are standing on the brink of a massive decision. You know the weight it carries. You know what happens if you get it wrong. The pressure is enormous. And now think about Richard Childress, a man who's been in racing for decades, knowing he had no choice but to sign a deal. But this wasn't any regular deal. It was NASCAR's charter agreement, and according to him, he was coerced into it. This is a scene where the stakes are high, and not just for him, but hundreds of people who depend on his decisions. He had no option but to sign. The clock was ticking, and if he didn't, everything could crumble. This is the kind of real-life drama that motorsports can bring, and it goes far beyond just cars and drivers. Before this moment with Childress, NASCAR, one of the biggest motorsports leagues in the world, was deep in the middle of some questionable calls. Just last weekend at Talladega, NASCAR found itself at the center of a heated debate again. Rules that should have been enforced weren't, and decisions seemed inconsistent. Some drivers were allowed to continue after getting towed to the pits, but others, like Josh Berry the week before, were forced out of the race under similar circumstances. How is that fair? Fans were scratching their heads. Even those inside the sport, including competitors and team owners, were left wondering what to expect from NASCAR's officiating. Now think about junior motorsports. They recently made a bold move by appealing Sam Mayer's disqualification. Mayer had finished 16th in the race, but his car was found to be too low in the rear post-race inspection, leading to a DQ and a significant loss of points. Junior motorsports believe that a 20-point swing this late in the season is worth fighting for, so they appealed. But what are the chances of success? Probably not high. After all, NASCAR's templates and rules have been in place for a while. And even though this isn't the first time someone's tried to fight a ruling, the odds are slim. But this is racing, and you can never count out a long shot. Meanwhile, the story around missed calls at Talladega continues to loom large. NASCAR didn't penalize Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for missing the door foam on the side of his car, even though it's standard procedure to send cars with such damage down pit road for repairs. Stenhouse went on to win the race, and many argue that NASCAR dropped the ball by allowing him to continue. Fans and experts alike were vocal about how inconsistent these calls have been lately. NASCAR's Vice President of Competition, Elton Sawyer, tried to explain the situation. He acknowledged that NASCAR might have mishandled the situation with Josh Berry and then tried to overcompensate by being more lenient in the Talladega race.
Our goal is never to put good cars out of the race. When we developed DVP 10 years ago, that's never been the goal. Based on, our experiences last week at Kansas, and looking at what happened there with the 4-car, felt like, we probably could have made a different call there. We had a good car that probably just needed tires last week. So as we went into this week, we wanted to err on the side of the competitor. Again, we don't want to put good cars out of the race. We had a situation in turn 3 where we've got 25 plus cars down there. We're not sure why they can't continue. We don't know if it's strictly because they're just in the grass, they're high-sided. So for us to make a determination that, they've got some suspension damage and can't continue, that puts a lot on us that, again, we want to err on the side of the competitors. Once we got the 14 and the 9 back to pit road, they made their small repairs that they can make on pit road and went out and met minimum speed. So we felt like we made the right call there.
So, is this leniency going to be the new standard moving forward, or will NASCAR once again tighten the reins in upcoming races? Right now, the answer is unclear, and inconsistency seems to be the only consistent thing. And speaking of tension, let's not forget the clip that surfaced from Talladega of Kyle Larson's radio communication during the final laps. His spotter, in the final moments of the race, reminded him not to push Brad Keselowski to the win. It was a brief message, but it spoke volumes about the politics behind the scenes.
Don't push him to the window. Stay off of him, stay off of him, stay off of him. Checker flag, it worked.
Fans have known for years that teams and manufacturers work together, especially at superspeedways. But hearing that moment captured on the radio reminds everyone just how much strategy goes into these races. The real question is, how far do these alliances go? It's one thing to work with teammates, but we are now seeing manufacturers pulling the strings on these late race decisions. Brad Keselowski fans might not be thrilled to hear that their driver could have won if not for team orders. Larson, though, didn't seem too bothered. He understood the situation even if it wasn't ideal for him. This moment added another layer of complexity to an already intricate sport. Team orders, manufacturer influence, and split-second decisions create a unique blend of drama and strategy. Let's shift back to the ongoing legal battle. The real headline this week remains the antitrust lawsuit filed by Front Row Motorsports and 23XI Racing against NASCAR. For those who don't know, antitrust lawsuits accuse companies of monopolizing an industry. In this case, the teams are saying that NASCAR's control over the sport is too much. NASCAR CEO Jim France offered little comment when asked about the lawsuit over the weekend. But other team owners like Richard Childress were more vocal. As mentioned earlier, Childress claimed that he was forced to sign NASCAR's new charter agreement or risk losing his team's charter altogether.
We got our DocuSign that evening at 6:37 is when it came in, and we had to sign it by 12 o'clock or we'd lose our charters. I didn't have a choice because we had to sign. I got over 400 employees, OEM contracts with sponsors, and I got to take care of my team.
It's important to understand that NASCAR is unique compared to other major sports. Most major sports leagues in North America, like the NFL or NBA, have commissioners who work for team owners. This creates a balance of power between the league and the teams. NASCAR, however, is still controlled by the France family, and that's where the issue lies. Front Row Motorsports and 23XI Racing are arguing that NASCAR's structure allows the France family to operate without checks and balances, giving them too much control over the sport. They point out that in other sports, player salaries and team revenues have increased over time, while in NASCAR, driver salaries have been trending downward. In fact, Kyle Larson, one of NASCAR's top drivers, noted that driver salaries have decreased over the past few decades, while other sports have seen increases.
We're probably one of the only sports, if not the only sport, that athlete salary has gone down in the last, couple decades. Where I think you look at yearly, most athletes' salaries and stuff are going up. Not just athletes, but coaches, staff members, everybody in the sport. So yeah, obviously, we would love to see it trend upward instead of the opposite, which it's been. But I think with that, the teams probably have to make a lot more money to make it viable to pay the people that are working for organizations more.
The future of NASCAR could look very different depending on the outcome of this lawsuit. If the teams win, it could lead to a restructuring of how the sport is governed. Teams might have more say in the direction of the sport, and driver salaries could start to rise again. If NASCAR wins, things may continue as they are, but the tension between teams and the organizations will likely persist. Just before you leave, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell while you're down there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.